Hi, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to have a look at the New York Times Sudoku. We've had a few requests this morning to say that today's hard puzzle is very difficult, and can we show how to solve it. So I'm going to do a live solve of that in a moment, and I'm going to take my time over it, so I'll work through it very slowly. So this might be suitable for those of you who aren't sort of real expert solvers. We know that on the channel we do tend to do a lot of very, very difficult puzzles, so sometimes it's nice to take a step back and try something that's a bit more manageable for those of us with lots and lots of experience at solving these puzzles. Obviously you can do the puzzle today on the New York Times website, but if you are watching this video later on, I'll put a link to our software so that you'll be able to do the puzzle later dates. Unfortunately, the New York Times doesn't archive its Sudoku puzzles, so once the day goes, that's the end of that. Right, let's take a look. Okay, so now what I want to recommend that we do is that we work with Snyder notation. And what do I mean by Snyder notation? Well, what I mean is that in 3x3 blocks, so this is a 3x3 block, obviously. If I manage to lock a number into exactly 2 positions in the block, then I'll use the pencil mark notation to record that fact. So you can see in this block, because of the 2 here and the 2 here, there's only 2 spaces that the 2's can go into. And by making little pencil marks, I can keep track of that. And this allows us to build up a sort of pattern within the Sudoku that can be useful for finding little bits of logic later on to allow us to make progress. Now I've spotted a number now, so let's pencil mark 3's here, but these 2 3's here mean that the 3 must go in the middle row in the central 3x3 block, and there's only 1 open space. So this must be a 3. And you can see we've got 5 digits now across this middle row, so I would probably quickly check this. We've got 1, 2, 4 and 7 that we need, and actually there's a 1 and a 2 already in this block. So these 2 squares can only be the numbers 4 and 7 because they can't be 1 and 2, and there's a 7 there. So in fact this one must be the 4, this must be a 7, and we must have a 1 and a 2 over on the right hand side. Now coming back to the left, 7's here means a 7 in this square, and let's have a look at this block a bit more closely now. We still need to place 5, 8 and 9. So this 9 here means we can pencil mark some 9's on the left hand side in column 1. We're able to lock 9's into one of 2 positions in the top, or top left 3x3. And down here, this 4 and this 4 interact on this block to lock a 4 into this square. We're left with having to place 5 and 6 into the open positions. Okay, so we've made a bit of a flurry of progress, but we've got to remember that we got that flurry of progress by working through the numbers in order. So I think we only actually got as far as 3, so we've now got to remember to continue that process. So let's go back. 4's here, these 2 4's lock 4's into one of those 2 squares. 5's, what can we do with 5's if anything? Not a great deal. At least I'm not seeing anything good with 5's. Can we do anything with 6's? It's only it's 2 6's in the grid. Maybe we can. Yes, 6's into those 2 positions in the top left box. 7's into one of these 2 squares. Okay, and now we can do a little trick. And this is why this notation is important, because let's have a look down at the bottom now in these bottom 3 rows. A 7 here and a 7 here. So we can pencil mark 7's. And if you're not careful, you can miss this. So now we have a 7 locked into one of 2 positions in this top right 3x3 block, and you can see that the 7 is either in column 7 or column 9. Now, in this bottom right 3x3 block, we've managed to locate the 7 again, either into column 7 or column 9. So there's a couple of ways of thinking about this, but it should be pretty clear. We've not yet managed to place a 7 in column 8 yet. This square can't be a 7. Neither of these two squares can be a 7, so there's only one position that can be a 7, and that's this square here. And that's immediately useful, because now we can place the 7 up there. If we hadn't made pencil marks, we'd have to rethink that. And of course you can rethink it, but this is just an efficient way of doing it. Now this 2 means this square here must be the 2, in this central 3x3. And we need 6 and 8 into these two squares, so let's pencil mark those two squares in. Combined with this 8 means there must be an 8 in one of these two positions. And the other number we haven't placed over here yet is a 5, but just stare at this for a second. I'm just seeing if I can do anything with the 5s. I'm not seeing anything desperately clever. I've seen we've got 6 numbers though in column 8, so we still need to place 5, 6 and 9. So this 6 here means there's a 6 in one of those two squares. Sevens. 6 is in one of these two squares, and this 6 means that only this square can be a 6. Again, 5, 8, 9 along row 6 as well, so what's going on there? 7s, 5s, 8s. Right, let's carry on going back through it. So 8s, I can't see anything terribly good with. 9s, we've got a 9 here. There are a few 9s in the grid. We can pencil mark some 9s at the bottom. Look, those two positions. And this 2, actually, I could have resolved that. Look, there's a 2 here. And now there's a 2. Right, and here's another reason to use pencil marks. So we've got a cluster of pencil marks now in this bottom middle box. We've got 2s, 9s and 4s pencil marked, but you can see these are overlapping to an extent. And the critical place we need to look at is really this square. So we've locked the 2s and the 9s into these two squares. So the question is, can this square, where we have a pencil mark 4, ever actually be a 4? And the answer is no, because if I put a 4 here, the implication of the pencil marking is I need to put a 2 here and a 9 here. Well, I can't put two numbers in the same cell. So once we get, in any 3x3 block, once we get the same two numbers pencil marked in two different cells, nothing else can go into those cells. So here we're able to find that this square must be a 4, and we can go back up here. That's going to have to be a 4 because of these two 4s. 4, 4, we get to pencil mark 4s on the left hand side. Lots of pencil marks in this block. And now we have a 2-9 pair as well here. So we've got to remember this square can only be a 6 or an 8. So it's marrying up here with this square here. The only numbers we haven't yet placed in column 4 are 6 and 8, if we take that these two squares must be 2 and 9 in some order. Okay. Now, actually, let me just show you. Because this is 5, there must be a 5 in one of these two squares, because of the 5 here and the 5 here. And again, you can see this marries up quite nicely. In fact, there's loads of things going on now. We need to pause and look at this. If we look at this block, I can see that 5s are in one of these two squares. And again, over on this side, 5s are in one of these two positions. Now, you'll note again, these are in the same rows, row 7 and row 8. I've not yet managed to put a 5 into row 9 of the grid. So looking over this side, we know there's a 5 in one of 3 positions. But we can do or notice a similar thing with 6s. Although we have we don't have any given 6s in the central 3 columns of the grid, I know the 6 in this 3x3 block must be in either row 7 or row 8. It must be in one of these positions, because this is a 2-9 pair. So again, we can do the same logic with the 6s we've just done with the 5s, because the 6s here are locked into row 7 and 8, and the 6s here are locked into row 7 and 8. It doesn't matter really that I don't know exactly where they go in this block. I know this square can never be a 6, because if it is, the implication is there'll be a 6 in one of these 3 squares and a 6 here, and we'll get a repeated 6 in row 7 of the grid. So this is not a 6, this is a 6. And we can now, noticing what we did with the 5s, we can now pencil mark 5s into those 2 squares. And this is actually a very, very lovely puzzle today, because now we can use the same logic again. 5s now we've locked into one of row 7 and row 9, or sorry, column 7 and column 9 in this block. And again, I don't know where the 5's going in this 3x3 block, but I know it's in column 7 or column 9. They're the only open columns, because we've already got this 3, 8, 7 down in this block already, down in column 8. So where can I put a 5 in column 8? Well, only in this square. So place that. You can see this whole puzzle is gorgeous. So let's do a couple of things. Firstly, you can see we've now got 8 numbers in column 8. So this is going to have to be a 9. And that resolves the 2 and the 9 over on this side. And that gives us a 2, 5 pair in the bottom. But let's come back to this, this 5 here. That interacts with this 5 to allow us to pencil mark 5s into one of these 2 squares. And we get the same trick again, look. The 5s now in this block are locked into column 1 and column 3. And in this block, I don't know where they go, except that I know they're in column 1 and column 3. Therefore, this is the only square in column 2 that can take a 5. So I'm able to go 5 and 6 like that. And now this 6 works very powerfully on the back up into this block, because I've pencil marked 2 cells that could contain the 6, and now this square is going to have to be the 6. And as soon as I place that 6, this square is going to have to be a 9, because I already had a 9 pencil marked into this square. Now, you can see now the 9 here and the 9 here mean there's a 9 in one of those 2 positions. The 6 here and 6 here mean this square's got to be a 6. This is going to have to be a 6 now in this block, because of the 6's on the left and right hand side. That resolves the 6 and the 8 in the middle. The font changes to show, that shows that we've finished the 6's now in the puzzle. So it's a little feature the New York Times does. When that happens, we need a 1 and a 3 down column 6, and we have a 1 here. So this is the only position a 1 can go in. This must be a 3. And we must be looking, this must be a 1 as well. 1 and 8 there. Now this 1 means that I'm going to be able to place the 1 here. The moment I do that, I can use the pencil marks. This is a 5. This is a 3. Come back over here, let's complete the pencil marks. We need a 3 and an 8 into these 2 cells. So this is going to have to be the only thing that it can be now in this block. It's going to have to be 4, because this is a 7-9 pair, this is a 3-8 pair. We haven't yet placed a 4 in this block. So that means that must work like this, and this should be an 8. Again, that means 8, 9, 5. Pencil mark 5s into these 2 squares. Pencil mark, well, you can see we need to place a 4 still in row 4 of the grid, and this 4 is going to force it to be here. I place the 4, unwind the pencil mark 5. This 5 is going to help me with the 5 and the 2 at the bottom, which helps me with the 2 and the 1 here. This must be a 1 now. Everything, lots of things are changing font, which is a good sign. We can complete column 4 now. I think we still need to place an 8. One of these squares needs to be a 3. Oops, like that. Now we still need, I've got a 5 here actually, so I could have resolved that. 5 and 3. 3 and 7, this should be an 8. 8, 3, 3, 7, 7, 9, and finally 9, and there we go. So actually, thank you very much for those of you who wrote in and suggested we tried this puzzle. That was beautiful today. New York Times Hard Sudoku is, of all the regularly published sort of broadsheet papers, it's the highest quality. It is, I think, created by a computer, but whichever algorithm they're testing it with is one of the rare algorithms I actually approve of, because quite often the puzzle is very entertaining. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. We do have a couple of really interesting videos for you this week, including Derek Neal's follow-up to the slot machine, in which he goes way beyond the slot machine into some really, really exciting new techniques. So look out for that if that's more your bag, and we'll be back soon with another edition. Thanks for watching.